Today I'm going to show you two different ways to make your portrait. For the first way, you're going to need a transparency sheet, a piece of tape, your selfie, and a Sharpie. I'm going to start by outlining the contours of my face and my hands and my shirt. You're also going to outline the contour of your hair. I'm taking my time, even though it looks like I'm working pretty fast. This video is sped up quite a lot, so please go slow. If you're not sure what you need to outline on your portrait, refer back to your self-portrait sketch in your sketchbook, and that will help you figure out what's most important. If you have some white part of the selfie, like the photo wasn't big enough, you can draw onto that white part and just continue the selfie into those areas. But if you don't draw on the white paper before you go in with a Sharpie, you may not like what you draw. So I drew this out of proportion. So I'm going in now with some isopropyl. It is used to clean cuts and wounds usually, but it will erase some Sharpie if it's light enough. It's not going to take away all of it, but it will take away some. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to outline the contour of the hair, and I'm making sure to get any flyaway pieces and really emphasize the ends of my hair since I have curly hair. I'm not going to work very detailed yet. I might go in and pull out some strands, and make sure when you're drawing strands you're thinking about the direction that the hair is moving, and you're not just drawing tons of little lines sticking up off your head or sticking straight off your head or down off your head. You're really thinking about which way the hair is moving. At any time you can kind of flip the drawing off of the photo to see what it looks like so far, and you'll see me do that in a moment. Here I'm going to go in and just find some dark lines in my shirt or my collar and pull those out by drawing on them. Then I can work back into the hair. Now I'm going to move to the facial features, and this is where you want to move really slow. You don't want to draw tons of lines in your face, because if you do, you're going to end up looking like you're a grandma or grandpa or something. So keep it super minimal. When you're going to the eyes, be very, very careful. I bought a bunch of thin tip Sharpies, so if you want to use those, feel free to do so. I'm noticing here I went a little overboard with the eyelashes, so I'm going to use the isopropyl to clean it again. And you're probably going to have Q-tips to do this. Just make sure that area is dry before you start drawing on top of it again. So that's why I moved down to the lips at this point. Like I said, the least amount of lines on your face, the better. So don't box in your nose like a triangle or make it look like a pig's nose. Very minimal broken lines. Even some implied lines will help. So now I'm going in and I'm getting the side of my face. I'm getting some of my eyebrows with just a few little short lines. And I know that my glasses are pretty dark, so I feel confident filling those in. Okay. From there, I'm going to kind of move my eyes around and see what I have. I'm going to flip it off the photo to see what it looks like without the photo underneath. And here I've noticed I went a little bit too detailed with the hair, so I'm just going to take away just a little bit. You can always add or subtract things to your selfie, your self-portrait. And one way to do that is to do what I've done here. I've kind of just flipped it off the photo, and now I'm freehanding some stuff. You can always put this on top of your sketch in your sketchbook that you made if you like that one better. You can also put it on top of any sort of stylized drawing you've done to your self-portrait in your sketchbook. I'm working straight off the photograph so that I can get it realistic. It was difficult doing eyes, and so that's why I flipped it now over to the back of the photo, so now I can see the white paper coming through, and that is really helping me see more clearly so that I can go in and get tiny details. I bought a ton of brand new thin tip Sharpies, so please, please, please just take care of them really well. Make sure the lids are on tight, and that you are taking care of them, because I bought them with my own money for you to use on this project. Alright, so I am feeling a little more confident about how this looks, so I'm going to go ahead and start adding in more of the hair. And now I'm ready to flip back and get the last of it. I'm just putting down the dark spot and the light spot on the eye, and then getting the outside lines. It is always good to just do a little, flip it, check it, fill it in. Make sure that when you are going back and forth from the image behind it and not, that you're stacking the paper straight so that they are perfectly aligned before you start to trace again. That way you won't end up looking like a Pablo Picasso painting, with your nose all the way to the left and your mouth all the way to the right. Just make sure you're all lined up before you keep tracing again. Alright, and I am finishing up with this. I'm feeling pretty happy with it. At this point, I'm just making a few little changes and adding a few little details so that my self-portrait is complete. I'm adding some broken or dashed lines behind my glasses to make it look like the hair there is a little further away and less defined or bold. From this point, after I'm done making any little changes, I'm ready to take the transparency off of the photo, and I'm going to use that same piece of tape or another small piece of tape to label my artwork. I am just going to stick it down somewhere where there's no Sharpie, and I'm going to write my name and my class period, and then I can keep this in my table folder. The other way that you can do this is still using a transparency and your selfie and a piece of tape, but now you're going to use a different drawing tool. It's called a vis-a-vis. This is not a permanent marker, so you want to be careful and start on the side of your picture where your hand won't end up smudging all over your picture. So that's why I'm starting on the left side, because I'm right-handed. If I were left-handed, I'm going to start on the right side, so I'm not smudging through all my work. If you're a lefty, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so here I don't want to outline everything. I just want to outline areas where the values are dark. And you want to use really light and broken lines, because if you're choosing to do this option, that means you want to draw some of your portraits, and you may want to even use pencil to shade in your portraits, or maybe you want to use marker to add value to your portrait. So really, really important here that you're just doing minimal outlining and looking for dark areas of value. Because this one here is going to transfer onto a white piece of paper. It's not going to stay on the transparency. So you really just want to put down some guidelines. And this might also be a good choice if you're planning to stylize some of your portrait. It's important to know where the hair meets the head, where the head meets your neck or your shoulders. But do not put in too much detail. In fact, I feel like I could have done even less detail. You don't need to use isopropyl. If you make a mistake for this, you can kind of just smudge with your finger or use a paper towel with water, or just even a tissue. It comes off pretty easily. Just make sure that it's clean. And if your hand's running back through it, you're going to smudge it, so you might have to do a little bit of cleaning before you do the transfer process. Here I'm coloring in the glasses because I know this is going to probably be one of the darkest spots on my self-portrait. But I could have just put a really light guideline down, like an underdrawing. Okay, very minimal lines. I'm checking to see what it looks like. I'm feeling pretty happy with how it looks because I'm going to go back later and add more lines with other materials when this is transferred. So honestly, I could have stopped there and gone ahead with the next step. So, for the next step, you're going to detach the transparency from the paper. Be very careful not to smudge. I taped it on the front side to show myself where the vis-a-vis is so I know that I can lay that side down in a moment. I'm going to spray the paper just a little bit, and then I'm going to wipe the water off with a towel. You want the paper a little bit moist, but you don't want it wet because the lines will smear if you do that. Now I'm going to lay the transparency down with the ink side touching the paper, and I'm going to use a brayer to very carefully roll the transparency. Then I'll peel it up, and now from here I'm going to let it dry for a whole day. Then I'll come back with a pencil and fill in some more of those lines. At that point I can start shading with graphite, or I can even color this